everyone. Welcome back to another edition of Soundbites for Immigration Success. We're happy to bring you another podcast, this time with Brook Finlay. We bring you this podcast so you can get to know your fellow consultants, hear their challenges, how they're solving them, and hear their takeaway tips that they want to share. So I am so happy to welcome Brook Finlay with us. Hi, Brook. How are you?
Hi, Monica. I'm great. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it is a pleasure to have you. Brook, tell us what inspired you to kind of enter the immigration field? And while you're doing that, tell us a little bit about you.
Sure. Well, I would say I've kind of fell into the industry. I didn't really know that it was a profession. I started quite young in my early 20s, assisting another RCIC as their legal assistant. And a little bit about me and how that came to be is I finished my undergraduate degree. I grew up in Ontario, so I'm Canadian by birth. And when I finished my studies, I wanted to move out west. I'm now located in Whistler, BC, and have been for 14 years. So I came out to do a ski season to be a ski bum and see another part of the country. And then I got stuck out here because it is so beautiful. And I had to find my way. I knew I couldn't be a ski bum with a ski bum job forever. And then I saw this ad in the paper and I applied to assist in RCIC. And then as I got the job and as I kind of dove into it and learned more about the profession, it was sort of um a bit like, it might sound woo, but a little bit like the universe had a plan, because in my undergrad I'm a poli-sci major, and I focused on international politics, international development, and the movement of people. So my area of research was internally displaced people and refugees, and how their recognition or lack of recognition of status when they're fleeing impacts economic development. And as I learned more about our profession, by working in it, it was like, wow, okay, this is, very well aligned with my passion to help people who are relocating, whether it's by necessity and out of, fleeing for your life, or whether it's a choice. Now I primarily work in economic and family immigration. So still that movement of people and helping people realize their dreams in a different country, that's sort of how I fell into it, and now we're 12 years later and here we are.
So I kind of love that the fact that you didn't really plan to really enter the space and it sort of fell into your lap. So it was taking advantage of that opportunity. But you're not just an immigration consultant. I mean, you're a businesswoman as well, but you kind of have another facet to yourself. Could you explain that to and share that with the audience?
Sure. So I think you're referring to my foray into building a tech company. um and yeah, so I've been in this industry now for 12 years, and at one point I was starting to get really discouraged. And I thought, I'm either going to make a career change, or I need to do something about the things that are discouraging me. And some of the things that were discouraging me were the headlines of the fraudulent activity that happens in our industry, and it seeming to pop up more frequently with our industry perhaps than other regulated professions. And also, that stigma that I feel like when I say I'm an immigration consultant, I feel like people automatically jump to certain conclusions, or have some preconceived notions about my character as a result of what I do. And and also hearing from clients that the work that we do, or the fees that we charge are too expensive, and seeing things online and in chats, whether it's Reddit or Facebook, like, don't hire a consultant, it's a waste of money, you can do it yourself. And so I I decided I was either making a career change, um, or I was going to do something about this and realign my work so that I was working towards solving these problems. And I ended up going the second path because the other career option I thought would be some form of clinical counselor. And when I looked into all the training and all of the prerequisites that I didn't have that I would have to go back and get before I could go and do get licensed in that field, it was too much. So I was like, okay, guess we're solving some of these problems. And anyway, that led to doing a master's in innovation and entrepreneurship and incubating this idea I had of how could our industry be turned on its head? Because I do think that to a degree, there's this dissonance between kind of how the industry has always operated and how we've always traditionally served our clients, and a cultural shift in what people want. And this is true in many professional services industries. As more information becomes available online, especially in the last 2 years since ChatGPT and all the like, people can find a lot of things on their own. The Law Society of British Columbia has even recognized like a decade ago that there is a shift of people not wanting to engage with legal professionals in the same way because they don't feel like they need someone to gather information or documents and fill forms and stuff for them. So looking at how could I reimagine the way that I serve my clients in a way that I'm doing the parts of the job that I love most, which is the high level strategy and when we need to use judgment and our intuition to address nuance. That's what I love. I don't love filling forms. Don't ask me to create a portal for you because I don't want to do it. So I think over time it was recognizing what I wanted to be doing and where I could bring most value, and then figuring out how to solve for the other pieces that are essential to what we do, but in a way that was aligned with a different segment of the market. So that those people who are willing to put in the sweat equity, roll up their sleeves, and want the guidance and oversight to give them confidence when they hit submit, but not wanting to hire someone to do everything for them. And so I created a web app that guides people through the process, but also manages and automates workflows so that they can get the support all the way through the process from our team.
And so further to that, I know you've spent a lot of time in 2024 sort of building that tech side,
Hmm.
how to leverage that, get it out there, make people aware of it. So you've had to use sort of a different hat than what you do sort of serving your clients. So how has
A
that been
hundred
for you?
percent.
Has it made you so you've had to get
Uh,
to get
um,
comfortable, you've had to get uncomfortable.
oh, I have never felt more uncomfortable in my life. Never. Uh, if you're listening and you've noticed me on LinkedIn, I had to commit to putting myself out there on LinkedIn. Someone said to me that the cost of not letting people know what you're doing is too high. And I thought, you're right, it is. So I have to get uncomfortable because this isn't about me. It's about all of these people who don't have access or choose not to access support because it doesn't meet their needs. And they don't perceive it to be valuable because of the reasons I described before. Um, and so yeah, I've put myself out there. I started with, written posts, and now I'm getting more into the video. I started a podcast, and yeah, it's super uncomfortable. And you never, if you reach out to me, you never know what you're gonna get. I might be over the moon excited about something. I could also be bawling my eyes out and ugly crying because it's such a roller coaster, but just that's the process. That's the journey. And I'm just embracing it. And so I've gotten a fair bit, especially since I started sharing my journey on LinkedIn. How do you do it? So more about me. I'm also a twin mom. My twins are almost 3. Um, and that takes up a lot of my time. And so I think people get the wrong impression that I've got it all together and I'm, constantly thriving, and that's not always the case. So I think that it's important to understand that it is hard and or challenging. This is my New Year's resolution, is to stop using the word hard, because it is a challenge, and anything that is worthwhile isn't going to be easy. Otherwise, everyone would have done it. So that's what I'm leaning into is just like, yep, if it feels uncomfortable, if it feels challenging, perfect. That means I'm on the right track.
Well,
So
I guess it kind of leads me into sort of my next usual question is, what has sort of been the biggest challenge? And you've sort of alluded to it's hard to sort of do it all and manage all that. But I'll put that question to you anyways. And you can couch it in terms of business or the tech side, the immigration side, or the just the life size. But what for you has been sort of the biggest challenge to sort of manage all this?
the biggest, I would take it back more than just like managing this. I would take it back to looking at my career as a whole. The biggest challenge was not feeling confident enough in myself to stand up for myself and my values and what and my beliefs, and kind of working toward a version of success that was misaligned with those values and beliefs, and that really was really damaging for me. So if I was to give my younger self advice, I would say, like, don't do something that doesn't feel right. You have to be it has to be in alignment with your values, and that's what I've been doing. So it might look like in the past couple years I have my stuff together and everything's all polished and going just perfectly, but that's not the case. But the reason I can keep going forward is because everything I do now, I ask myself, is this in alignment with my values? Will I be proud of making this decision? And no matter what the outcome is, will I be proud of the effort that I put in? Um, so that's kind of the biggest challenge, and then also the advice I would give.
So, what sort of brought you though to that cusp where you were able to say to yourself, you know, I have been sort of compromising who I am and what my values are, or maybe you quite didn't know what they were. Maybe it took you, 35 years of living to sort of figure out all that out. But what was there one event, or was it a culmination of things, or just one day you said, you know what, I'm going about this wrong.
Um, I would say kind of a mix. So it really came to a head after my daughters were born. And I was like, I can't keep doing this because now it's not just about me. I have two little human beings and I want to set a good example for them. And I need to be in a position in all aspects of my life that allow me to show up for them in the best way possible. And also, to be fully honest, and I also think there needs to be more conversation around this topic, but I found myself in a depressive state, and I didn't realize it at the time, but after working through therapy, I mean, it kind of was a combination of depression and then add on to that postpartum depression that made it even worse. Um, but that was really the turning point. I was like, I literally physically and emotionally could not continue to do things the same way. And if I could do it over again, well, it would be hard to do it over again because I'd want to do it over again with the hindsight that I have now. But I would have made a change much sooner because it's not worth it to compromise your health, physical, mental. It's not worth it to compromise it for anyone else.
Yeah, I'm gonna sort of relate to you on a personal level. I'm a twin mom as well. So my twins are 20 now. So I can remember, all those years leading up to, you know, working the crazy hours and thriving and loving it. And then all of a sudden you got these two babies that you're responsible with, and I can't put in those 12-hour days, and what am I doing? And sort of so I can really that what your words are really valuable. They really resonate. And for somebody else listening, it doesn't necessarily have to be the birth of your twins. It could be some other monumental life moment where you realize you've got to sort of put it all together and live your life the way you should be living it. Um,
Absolutely. Like, it doesn't
Yeah.
have to be a major event, and it can also build over time because I mine really came to a head where, I realized that I was experiencing depression, and it was adding on the postpartum aspect of it, that really put me over the edge. Uh, but it can build over time, and especially in our industry, it's a very emotionally charged line of work, and it's so critical to take care of yourself when you're working with clients and not take on their emotion or responsibility for their feelings and reactions. There's only so much that is within our control. And if you're not either operating your business in a way that's in alignment or that's fulfilling to you, or you're working in an environment that same thing isn't fulfilling or isn't in alignment, then your ability to take care of yourself just fundamentally in this line of work is compromised, and then that only damages you. And when you're not taking care of yourself, you're not able to show up for other people in your life, whether it be your family, your clients, your friends, in a productive way. So it might feel or sound selfish on the surface level taking care of yourself, but it's not, because that's how you show up and be of most value and of greatest service to other people.
Well, when you're on the airplane, they say to you, "Put the oxygen mask on
Yep.
yourself first, and then you put it on your children." So it's the same kind of thing. So I'm gonna finish out with
Exactly.
one more question. You've given some advice to your younger self about sort of, align yourself with your values. But what would you say for somebody who's maybe entering the profession or maybe wanting to be a tech entrepreneur? What kind of advice would you have for them?
Get ready to be uncomfortable and know that that's okay, that that's expected, and that it is going to be challenging. And also put yourself out there, because you don't know who's going to read your message and put up their hand and offer to help. That's the absolute crux of everything I've accomplished so far, are the people that have put up their hand and said, "Brooke, how can I help?" I wouldn't have been able to do what I've done over the last few years if other people hadn't stood up and helped me and offered support and pointed me in the right direction, and let me ugly cry in front of them. So don't be afraid to reach out, and admit when you're wrong or when you don't know something.
Yeah, and sort of that's excellent advice. And the other thing is, don't be afraid to take advantage of those people who are putting their hand up. I think sometimes we think, oh, they're too busy or they're just saying that. But you never know until you put your own hand out, until you touch hands and you really realize how beneficial it can be together.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what a great conversation. I'd love to have you back. Thank you for sharing your story and for showing us what it's like to be uncomfortable. Um, I know that the future is going to be incredibly successful for you. So thank you for sharing your journey, Brooke. Any final words?
Thank you, Monica. No, other than I am open. I've had so many people open their door to me and offer support and help. So I want to do the same. And that would be my other piece of advice, is when you do get support from other people, when you are able, like, you know, pay it forward.
Oh, okay.
So this is
So
my offer to pay it forward. I'm open. The best way to contact me is on LinkedIn, and I'm happy to help anyone in any way that I can. And I think, to your point, like, don't hesitate, because if someone is offering help, they will tell you where those boundaries are, or how that you can help them, or in what capacity and what they can commit to. So don't hesitate.
And I will take you up on that note. I will get you back on the CAPIC podium. I have a number of different places. We're planning we've got our schedule for next year, and we have lots of great topics, and we've touched on a lot of these today. So thank you to Brooke, and thank you to our audience. Thank you for listening in and for being part of our podcast story. This is our 30th episode, and thank you for listening. And we look forward to having you back for our next one. Thanks, Brooke. Bye,
Thanks,
everyone.
Monica.